Hi, Susie Homesteader of the Rockies, and welcome to the Susie Homesteader channel. And today we're going to be cleaning out our chimney. And today I'll go through a couple steps with you from top to bottom, but we're going to start up on the top since it's still nice outside and we still have a chance to get on the roof. So it's almost winter time. You want to get your chimney cleaned at least twice a year, if not more. It just kind of depends on what you're burning in there, in your stove or your fireplace. Do check with your homeowner's insurance. Some homeowner's insurance will require that you have a professional actually clean out your pipe and your stove itself, and you may have to actually submit that to your homeowner's insurance. So it just depends on how you're set up. I don't have to do that. I'm going to do it myself. I have hired professionals in the past, but you can do this yourself if you do it right. But just remember, there's like 25,000 chimney fires a year, which include fatalities and burn down people's homes to the ground. So, like I said, once, twice a year at least. Usually that's after you've been burning in the spring and right about now, fall, right before it starts to snow and you can't get on your roof. So those are the two most important times to get this done. And I'll just go through it with you step by step. Every chimney is different. Every shape is different, every size is different. So we're just going to go through some of the tools that you need. I'll show you how I'm doing it on my chimney. Really easy, but again, just, don't get up on the roof. If you got a head cold or you got an ear infection or you're hungover, anything that's going to screw up your equilibrium. So there's plenty of days to not do this kind of a job. So besides chimney fires, lots of people fall off the roof too. So please make sure you got like sneakers or something with some really good traction on it. Don't wear slippery sandals or boots. And then of course just make sure that there's no frost or water on your roof, whether you got shingles or a metal roof. One of the problems you do have with the metal roof, as you can see, I do have kind of a weird backdraft on this roof, and I think it has something to do with the valley, the way this roof is designed with the metal in the valley. So you don't want to step on any spots where you got all that soot and stuff anyway, because that's just going to make an even bigger mess. And then I'm hoping, with the snow and the rain, that's all going to get washed off. And then if it doesn't, then I'm going to be hosing that off in the summer. But, just stay off the soot or anything else, leaves that you might have up on top of the roof while you're climbing around up there. So, all right, well, let's get started. So the first thing you're going to do is take off your cap. Some brick and mortar fireplaces won't have a cap. It might just have some kind of a screen on the top. So it does, again, kind of depend on what kind of chimney you have. This one, it just has a little, they call it, I think, like a china cap. And it usually just requires a screwdriver and a pair of pliers to just get off. Usually just one little screw that's going to loosen up the actual rim on this that holds it together. So don't forget to bring up some of your extra tools when you get up there. Another thing you want to do is you're definitely going to bring a brush up with you, because we're going to brush off this cap, either before or after we clean the actual pipe out of here. And then you're going to need a towel, because unless you're, like I said, not worried about making a bigger mess full of soot on your on your roof, then just kind of bring up a real old towel or a rag that you can clean this cap off with, because we are going to do that too. So let's just take our cap off. And usually those, as you can see, this one's got lots of soot on it. And usually, well, we have to loosen that one up a little more. Usually they pop right off, but you might, like I said, depending on how much soot you have on there, you might have to actually loosen that up quite a bit. So there's your cap. That's one version of a chimney cap anyway. This one I really like. It's just a good design. It's not too flimsy, and it's real easy to get off. But I don't know if you can see all the soot that's in the cap. So we have to get all that creosote and soot off, as well as what's inside that chimney. So I'll get back to you on that in a second, but the next thing you're going to need is obviously going to be your chimney brush. So these are going to come in round sizes, they're going to come in square sizes, and it's all going to be based on the size of your pipe, of your chimney. So if you have a square one, you're going to use a square brush. If you have a round one, you're going to use a round brush. This is a 6-inch pipe, so I have a 6-inch brush that's round. And then you might have an 8-inch chimney pipe, so then you're going to have an 8-inch brush, or you might have a square one. So when you're buying your brush, obviously you're going to make sure you have the right shape and the right size. They also make metal rods, and they also make kind of like this fiberglass rod, and I do like the fiberglass better because it's more flexible. You do want to wear gloves because sometimes there's little fiberglass fibers in these poles, plus you're yanking up and down on it when you're cleaning out your chimney. So make sure you have gloves on if you have the fiberglass kind. Okay, so back to this rod on your brush here. They have these extensions that you can screw together depending on, you know, how long your pipe is and how long you need it. But I will tell you, make sure that you have these screwed together pretty good, because if you don't and it comes loose, one extension piece of this comes loose while you're cleaning this out, I don't know how you're going to get it back out. So just make sure you got those screwed in really tight. Most of them do just screw together, and then they just screw back off, you know, when you want to store it. So take your brush, just get it down there. It's going to be messy, and you're going to have to use a little elbow grease on this point. And the whole idea here, you're going to know when you hit bottom, because it's just not going to go any farther. And then you're going to want to just go up and down. So just keep going down as far as you can go. Gets all that stuff off the walls. Obviously, I don't need my extension rod to be this long. Alright, anyway, that's not going any farther. And then, you know, make sure obviously that your fire is not going while you're doing this, and that you don't have anything, any wood or anything in the way of all this stuff, because a lot of it's going to go into the stove as well. So you'll be pulling some of it out, and some of it will actually be falling into the stove. So just obviously make sure you don't have a lot going on down in the actual stove. So now we know I don't need that much of this extension rod, so I'm going to take off these last two sections, because that is way too long. And now I know I just need these two, and that'll be a lot easier to work with. So it's a little hard getting it back up, so just keep going up and down, and it should be a really tight fit. This should be going up and down real easy by the time you're done. You can see there's quite a bit of creosote on this, and that's as far as that's going to go again. And just keep pulling up and down, and do that about 2 or 3 times until there's just not a whole lot coming out. And you don't have to pull this all the way out, because then all that soot's going to come with it. So really, again, a lot of this will just go right through to the bottom. So just keep doing that so you think you got it fairly well done. Maybe 5 or 6 times. And you can kind of peek down there and look at the walls anyway. But it should be a super tight fit, because that's what you want. Okay, so we got that whole chimney pipe there cleaned out with the brush, or the big giant brush. And then just kind of go back over the top and, you know, take your little dust broom brush and just kind of get what's left on the top there. Obviously stay away from the direction the wind is blowing if you can. And then I also forgot to mention, make sure when you're cleaning this out from the inside that your damper is open on your stove. If you do have like an elbow or something on your pipe run there, there is a possibility you're going to have to take that elbow off, and, if you can, and clean that out separately, because there's no way to get through that angle with this kind of a main brush, unless you do the poor man's chimney brush, and that's just a chain. So that's another possibility to get into the elbows. If you have any of those, just take a big heavy-duty chain, you know, buy it at your hardware store, wherever you can, and just run it down there and just clank it around the sides as hard as you can, and just kind of rattle this actual pipe without dislodging any of the pipes. because they're really just screwed together with, you know, pretty minimal roofing type screws. So if you do the chain, like I said, rattle it as hard as you can just to kind of loosen things up and maybe get into an elbow, but do not dislodge any of your pipe all the way down, because then you got serious problems, and you're probably going to have to hire a professional to come back and redo the whole thing. So just be careful. Like I said, don't do anything too hard, and then obviously just make sure it looks good enough on the inside when you peek down there to get through the winter. Sometimes you'll see a bird nest come through it. You know, all kinds of little fun things hide in there. So that's just a couple other things to think about on your cleaning your chimney. And then this is what your cap is going to look like when it's done. So all we did was take that little brush and brush it all off, and you can see there is absolutely a ton of soot that comes off of this cap as well. So as well as what goes in the pipe, there's quite a bit just to brush off. So that's how much collects on the cap. So obviously make sure you, like I said, bring a brush up here with you and clean off that cap pretty good too. So okay, so there you go. That's pretty well cleaned out. And then you're just going to put your, like I said, this is a really easy one. Put your cap back on there. Make sure it fits in there right. And then you're just going to tighten that up with your screwdriver and your pliers or however else they get that to stay on there. And you're done. So there you go. There's a couple tips for cleaning out your chimney. And make sure when you go back down and do your stove after you've done your chimney, you check the bricks, check the rope, on the gasket rope on the doors of your stove, and anything else on the inside there while you're cleaning it out. So I'll have another video for you on just cleaning the stove itself, but this is how you do it from the top down to the stove. So if you have any questions, come and see me on my website, Susie Homesteader of the Rockies, and we'll see you there. Bye-bye. So let's get started. Subscribe to the Susie Homesteader channel, and we'll see you there. Bye-bye.